you got to realize when you set out on the journey to become better is this. Nobody owes you anything. They don't owe you any encouragement. They don't owe you any support. They don't owe you any claps, any cheers, and they certainly are not going to motivate you and hold your hand through the journey of success. If you think that other people are going to come along and pull you through and give you breaks and give you opportunities, you are not understanding how this works. This is a journey that you take alone. And when you take the journey alone and you push through and you become somebody who has discipline, who has grit, who has mental toughness, who has the ability to endure, who has the ability to walk on the unbeaten path, eventually other people will join you. So for the first, what seems like an eternity, you are going to be going alone, and nobody is going to come along and pull you through. And this is a common mistake that we see with all sorts of people that are trying to change their lives. They look around, they have these good intentions, they have these plans, these dreams, these goals, and they look around and they're like, why is no one helping me? Why is no one supporting me? This isn't fair. Well, guess what? It's not fair. All right? You may have started in a more difficult spot. You may have hardships that other people don't face. But there is a reality that there are millions of people that have come from places harder than you have come from, who have achieved what it is you're trying to achieve and more. And every single one of those people went down the path without anybody pulling them along. So get this out of your mind. Understand, nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to pull you through. All the product, all the result, all the success that you're going to create from all of these seeds you're planting today, that work, those seeds that are planted have to be planted while nobody is looking, while nobody is watching, while nobody is clapping. And eventually they produce a harvest where you get to show the world what you've created. And by that time, people will have joined you and you will not be alone. If you have to have someone hold your hand, if you have to have someone push you down the path, if you have to have someone drag you down, bro, you are going to be mediocre at best for your entire life. And that's generous. You're probably not even going to be mediocre. You're probably not going to get off the ground. So understand, the only way for you to do this is to build yourself into someone who's capable of going down the path on your own. It's on you. You got to carry it on your back, and that's the way it is. So that's point number one. Point number two, okay? Nobody's going to understand what it is you're trying to do but you. All right? Whenever you start down this path, you are going to be called crazy. You're going to be called unrealistic. You're going to be questioned. You're going to be having your friends put doubt in your mind. You're going to have people say like, well, are you sure about that? These people don't get it. They do not understand what it takes. They do not understand what you were trying to do. They do not understand why you are trying to do it. And for that reason, you have to ignore them. You have to learn to turn the volume down on what it is they're doing. And the best way to turn the volume down on these people is by limiting your access to them and then also continuing to execute. The more energy you put into execution, the more time you put into what it is you're doing, moving yourself forward, the less and less and less you can hear them because you're creating more and more distance between you and them. Just like in a physical reality. If someone is standing in front of your face and they're telling you, hey man, I don't know, you need to remember where you came from. You're just a broke little fat kid from South County, St. Louis, Missouri. I don't know if you're going to be able to do that, okay? And then you go stand 100 yards away from them and they say the same thing. Can you hear what they're saying? Now, what if you stand a mile away from them? What if you stand 10 miles away? It doesn't matter if they fucking scream it. You're not going to hear it. So the best way to silence this noise, the best way to make the volume on this go down is for you to execute and to put distance between those people and where you are. And eventually, when you've gone on and you've created everything that you want to create, you will not be able to hear these people laugh because they'll be in the same spot where you started and you will be 100 miles down the road. Okay, so that's point number two. They're not going to get it. No matter how hard you try to explain it, no matter how much effort you do into trying to convince people, they are not going to get it. So you should take all that effort that you put into trying to convince people and you need to put that into execution so that you can create the proper distance so you do not hear the naysayers. You do not hear the hate. You do not hear the laughter. You do not hear the doubt. And you can focus on becoming exactly who you want to become, and that's how you become it. Stop wasting your energy trying to convince people. Stop wasting your energy trying to make people understand. They're not going to get it until the entire world gets it. And by the way, if they do think you're crazy, and they do think you're unrealistic, and they do think you're nuts, that's a great thing, because that means that you're thinking far bigger than any of the people around you, and that is always a good thing to follow it up with action. So when they say these things in the beginning, and you actually can hear them, use them to your advantage. Use them as a reinforcement of the fact that you are on the right path. And I know it doesn't feel that way all the time, but I promise you that's what it means. Point number three. Every single time I tried to cut corners, every single time I tried to take the easy path, every single time I opted off of the hard path, I lost. Every single time. And every single one of those times, I wasted valuable time that had I just accepted the reality of the hard path, I would have spent that time moving down that path, which would have gotten me exponentially further than wasting my time looking for the shortcut. Losers look for the shortcut their entire lives. That's why they never get anywhere. It's the hard path that builds you. It's the hard path that creates you. It's the hard path that myself and every other motherfucker that you ever looked at and thought, damn dude, I want what they have. I want that for me. That's the path they went on. So what makes you think you're gonna work your way around this path? What makes you think there's another way? The test is the path. The skills are gained on the hard path. Everything that you want is at the end of the path that no one else will take. This is the reality. And if you spend your life looking for the easy way, the quick way, the faster way, you're going to waste so much time that could have been dedicated on the main path that you're actually not going to accomplish much of anything. Okay, so think about this from a logical standpoint. You're still putting in the same effort. You're still putting in the work, but you're putting in the effort and the work on these paths that do not equate to the result you're looking for, because fundamentally they are built to get around all the hard shit. And when you try to get around all the hard shit, you cannot build the skills you need to get where you want to go, because all the skills that you need are built by overcoming the tests that occur while you are on the hard path. So even if you were to get where you want to go with a shortcut, with the easier path, you wouldn't have the skill set to maintain that or continue past that point. Okay? So you have to understand this is a practical reality. You cannot be successful looking for the shortcut. You can only be successful by looking where you want to go and saying, the quickest way is this path. There is obstacles here, but these obstacles are going to create the tools, the skills, the ideas, the abilities that I need to not only maintain the success that I'm about to create, but also move past that point. Because here's the cool thing about success and entrepreneurship and business. It is the only game that you can play that the older you get, the better you get at it. All right? I am 1,000 times the operator I was even 10 years ago because I continued down the path. And now I'm in a position with all these extra skills and resources that are going to allow me to go even further. Now, had I found a way to jump from 34 to 44 without all of those tests, I wouldn't have that skill set, and now I'd be sitting here not knowing what to do. And the other people that are on quote-unquote my level of success would have a drastic competitive advantage over me because they went down the path that taught them those skills. All right, so there's a practical reality to this. Every time you go the easy path, every time you go the shorter path, you will fucking lose. This is why it's important to build yourself into someone who's able to overcome instead of looking for the path of least resistance. Build yourself into a fucking weapon that can move down the hard path effectively regardless of what comes your way, and you'll become the kind of person that can achieve anything. If you spend your life looking for the shortcut and you don't build yourself into a person with discipline, mental toughness, grit, fortitude, self-esteem, self-belief, the ability to endure, if you do not do that, you cannot gain the skills that you need to ultimately succeed. Okay, so this is very practical. And by the way, here's the coolest thing about this. Okay, if you try to go the easy path, no one's going to give a shit what you did. You're not going to have any stories, you're not going to have any lessons, you're not going to have anything to contribute other than potentially somewhat mediocre result. Okay, and that's highly unlikely. All right, but if you take the hard path, you go 20 years down the hard path, now you have all these amazing stories, you have all these amazing lessons, you have all these things that contribute to the people around you, and that's the most valuable thing in someone's life. The most valuable thing that you can give someone is your knowledge. The most fulfilling thing that I personally can do for someone is what I try to do for you guys, which is pour into you from my personal experience so that maybe you can avoid some of the hardships that I felt and learn some of the lessons a little more quickly. But regardless of how much I teach you, regardless of how much I share with you, you are still going to have to go down the path for yourself. This is the reality. And if you do, you will have an incredible life story that people will talk about and they will admire and they will be inspired by. And dude, let me tell you something. After you get all the money and you get all the shit and you get the house and the cars, all the shit, there's going to be other things that you want. Those things don't mean the same thing once you have them. And the thing that's going to mean the most for you is what you did with your life. What is your story? What can you share? How can you contribute? How can you help people be better? And that will never happen with you looking for the shortcut.